Hey guys, it's Dawn here, and today I want to talk about finding your seat. Um, all right, so this isn't going to be like dressage or show jumping or Western or anything like that. This is just in general finding your balance and finding your seat and all that, okay? Um, so the first thing I want to talk about is seat shamers. We're not going to have any shaming around here. When you're trying to find your seat, you're not always going to be perfect. When you're out and about and riding and going over jumps or it's not always going to be perfect. So first, I just want to take that whole fear factor away of the shamers. Okay, no shaming around here, because one of the most important ways to find your seat is to allow yourself to experiment with it. I was when I was trying to figure out how to make this video, then I was like, okay, should I do it while bareback, while on my bareback pad, while on my dressage saddle? What horse should I use and all? And when I was looking at it, I realized that I can't really see what I am doing with, I'm trying to explain, okay, okay, now I'm going to do this and I'm going to shift my width this way, and you don't see anything really on camera. And I think that's the frustration that we have, is a lot of it is like, it's like you can't see it with your own two eyes. It's something that you have to feel for yourself. So let's see. So let me start with this. Your weight and shifting your weight is something that is very, very unique and individual. It's going to depend on where your center mass is. Guys are different. They tend to hold their weight more in their shoulders, women in their hips. But if you're a stick figure, you're gonna be different. If you've had injuries, it's gonna be different. So all of those are going to be factors. We're gonna take all that, and then the horse. Different horses move differently. Every time I get on a new horse, I have to find my seat with that horse. You've got the gaited horses that in the seat, it doesn't even feel like they're moving, and it drives me bonkers because my body is expecting to move a certain way. Lacer's such a big mover, and he's powerful. So if he lifts his hind, just come up, this is going to knock, if I'm sitting, it's going to knock me right off because he's such a big mover. But then you got, the ones that move more like this, so they don't have that big motion going on, right? And then little Gertie, she's short and she has little staccato. So I'm like, bouncing around on her. And I don't know, everybody has their own type of movement. And so that is going to change your seat, your injuries, how your weight goes. It's very individual. And how do we find balance? To find balance, we have to be relaxed. To find balance, it's like the, well, it's not like this, but you know how drunk people never get hurt in accidents because they're always so relaxed. You got to just move with it. Okay, you got to be allowed to move and sway. There's so much motion going around, and our world is of motion. So you can't be afraid. And I think when you go into a lesson and you paid a lot of money for 45 minutes of instruction, right? And then they say, okay, heels down, sit up straight, shoulders back, now relax your shoulders, and you're like, and it's hard because you're trying to get yourself into a frame that may or may not feel natural. So with my thing, it's just feel it. Yes, the formal instruction and instructions is good. Do that. I'm not saying that's bad, but in addition to that, you should just take a step back, relax, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and experiment with the different things. Experiment with how far your foot is in the stirrup. We all know that the stirrup should be at the ball of your foot. So that is this bar right here where your toes connect to your foot. The bar. I can't even think right now. The sir's over there making faces at me too, so it doesn't help. But the ball of your foot, not crammed up into the heel, right? But experiment with that, and don't be afraid to move around and feel, because there's also where you have it sitting straight across, or you can have the bar of the stirrup like tilted. There's different things like that you can experiment and try. I think I'm losing track. All right, let's gain back. Okay, we want to relax and balance, because when you try to balance something, you don't ever do this. Balance. No, what do? You do this with your fingertips. You see what I'm saying? It's a bump, bump. Now, I'm never going to get this thing balanced because it's on dirt and it's just a crop. But my example is experiment. Let it move. Let your body. This would be you on the horse. The horse is going to move you around, and you want to stay in this kind of zone of balance. Okay, so instead of thinking that balance is a set thing, which it kind of is if it stays steady, if you actually balance something perfectly, it would just stay. But this is a horse that's in motion, right? So it's going to move you around, and you just want to make sure that you're not like, whoa, and you want to make sure that you don't get rigid and get to the point where you're like, oh, I'm going to fall, and then you fall. You want to always just bounce. Oh, I'm going to bounce. Oh, I'm going to fall, bounce, like that, okay? So when I'm talking about points, I'm going to talk about your seat should be floating in this zone, okay? And then as the horse moves, you're going to feel it's going to hit here, hit here, hit here, hit here. Okay, can I, at first it might be like this, hit here, hit here, here. All right, can we soften it up? Can we start anticipating the moves? Can we start, and then until you're finally to the point where you're like this with the horse instead of actually hitting. But if something goes wrong, oh, we just went over an unexpected stumble. Okay, now let's go back to just and not hitting anymore. Okay, so that is to me how you find your balance at first, and then soften. Okay, so now that's what you do with your body. Now in your mind, this is very important. That's why they always say eyes up, right? But sometimes I think it just scares people because they go, what am I looking at? I don't know what to focus on. And what that basically is there is a thing called target fixation. And it's a phenomenon where when you ride a motorcycle, you get you go along, you get scared, and you fixate on a pole. And you go, don't hit that pole, don't hit that pole, don't hit that pole. And what happens? You naturally steer into the hole and you crash. Now, we've all experienced this the first time we rode a bicycle, maybe. Okay, a lot of us have. You're like, don't hit the car, don't hit the car, don't hit the car, and then you hit the car, and it's this phenomenon because you're like, dang it, every cell in my being was saying, don't hit it. Why did I still hit it? Why am I so stupid? And it's because your mind controls your body, and it betrayed you. So that is a very powerful thing to gain control. And how I did it was on the motorcycle, I would sit still, and then I would go, okay, I want to go to the left. And then I'd look, this is my left. I'm not retarded. This is my left. But I look, and my motorcycle would go. No hands on the handlebar, okay? And this is a mechanical thing, so it's not like the motorcycle read my mind, right? And I would be very conscious to not move a single muscle in my body because I wanted to see what would happen. So I would just look with my eyes, and then you know what happened? My motorcycle went. And then I tried this way, and then I tried this way, and I started to control it, okay? That minuscule amount of shift in weight, because obviously there was a shift in weight, even though every single cell of my conscious being said, do not shift in weight, right? There was a shift in weight, and the motorcycle would respond to it. You can do this with a bicycle as well. Things with two wheels, because of the centrifugal force, the natural balance of it is always to go straight. So you get it to move by shifting your weight, but you can actually do it without consciously shifting any major muscles. And your body will actually somehow shift enough, just weight it enough to where it will go. And maybe you can feel it when you're just standing still, and just think about putting all your weight over to one or the other. Just these little minuscule changes, okay? Experiment with these tiny little changes, because that is the foundation of a good seat. That awareness and control of your body. Okay, so then the next part of my experiment on the motorcycle was, now I wanted to be able to look that way and go that way, or look that way and go straight, look that way and go that way, look that way and go straight. And then what I was doing was gaining control and separating the mind's subconscious control over the body, and letting my mind's consciousness control that part of the body, if that makes any sense, okay? And that's how, and also being calm and not panicking, all that goes into breaking target fixation. And you can research more about target fixation. But that slight shift in your weight, and okay, I'm doing it so that you can see it on video, so you can see how slight I'm talking about, but it's even more imperceivable than that in real life. But if I did it, then you just go, oh, she's not even moving, right? But your horse can feel it. So here's my point. It is proven to be true, because a motorcycle responds to it. The bicycle responds to it. So can your horse. That is what your horse is feeling. So when you are going like this, your horse is like, whoa. It's like when Dakota's riding on my back and she's all, I feel that. I'm like, But when she's on my back, I also can shift, and I can feel her little movements. And that's what I help her train when she's on my back. I'll train her little movements, okay? So the little movements is what you want to focus on. Oh my gosh, I've already been talking for so long. Okay, so little movements, finding your balance, don't get seat shamed, and the proper, okay, we all know what the proper thing is. They always say you want your shoulder, your shoulder, your elbow, your hip, and then your heel. And the reason why they say this is because you want to have a nice balance, and this is all in alignment, okay? But instead of shoulders back, back straight and all that, instead I want you to imagine that you're a puppet, or not. Puppet's kind of scary, but you're something with a string of light that pulls up from your core all the way up your head and all the way to the sky and into the heavens. Okay, so you're gonna slouch And then I want you to imagine, and then look at your position. It's a very relaxed, your shoulders are coming back, but it's nice and relaxed and rounded. And it's just open. And another, I like that better than sit up straight, okay? This is key, and I still use it today whenever I need to remind myself. Slouch. Now imagine that light pulling you up. Take a deep breath and sink into this. Sink into this. There's a rhythm, there's a balance, there's a zen in this, okay? So that's what I want you to think about and try to feel this. And you notice your eyes are naturally up and you're not target fixating on anything. Your eyes are just up. Look at they say look at the horizon. Look at the horizon, look at the beauty around you. Take that in, take deep breaths and feel yourself. And then it going down through your heels and into the ground. When you take a picture of yourself riding and then you imagine taking away that horse, you should still be standing on the ground, nice and stable, okay? That's why a chair seat is not so good. A chair seat is when your legs are out in front of you and it looks like you're sitting on a chair. And this is obviously not stable because if you took the horse out from under you, you'd fall on your butt. Also, you can't really post like this. I'm gonna get my feet a little bit more under me. Even like this, where my heel isn't quite under me, I have too much weight back here. I'm finding it a little bit hard. Now, another thing, posting is not going straight up and down. Posting is going forward. It's kind of like, think of more of a forward up, almost like a little, you know. Now, of course, feel your own horse. Because with Gertie, it's so staccato, it is a little more up and down. And then some horses, it's more of a forward rocking motion. And then some has a forward rocking and a little up. And if you do draft horses, draft horses are almost no up. It's all swing like this. And I'm like, how do they even get any forward momentum when all of their motion is going side to side? Some Friesians are like this, big couches. They feel like, it feels like driving a big Cadillac or a cruise ship. You know, they're, ooh, ooh, ooh. So, you know, you still feel your horse, but, so the chair seat is bad. Sitting on your back pockets, I don't know how that would work because my back pockets are here. If I was to sit on my back pockets, I'd be like this. So I don't know how that works. Well, where I sit, and I don't have anything to show for this, but basically, I don't sit down completely. Okay, so this is if my butt is way out. And my seat bones are actually pointed like that. I'm going to pull my pelvis in and align them. So my seat bones are down. And you can feel the seat bones. They're the two little pointy bones that go down. That are pointing somewhere, okay? So feel for those seat bones and you want them down. So they're going to be a little tucked, but not like this, all right? So, but experiment, do this, and then you'll feel that your seat bones have disappeared. They're like tucked up over here, and now this is, you know, the butt is all flappy now. But like this, I can firm my butt and my tush, okay? So play around with these positions and feel the seat bones. Where are they pointed? You want your seat bones to point down. I don't really sit on my seat unless I want him to stop or slow down. That's how you use your seat. when you go ahead of their motion, you encourage them to catch up and get with you, and then they'll move more forward, and you control everything with your seat. When you start sitting down and breaking their stride, that you can get them to slow down and even stop. You can make it very uncomfortable. If you go counterbalance what they are doing, that's when you can get them to change. If they're cantering, I can't even think of the word now, or whatever. But you can do all that stuff with your seat, because like I said, your motion becomes so invisible and one with the horse that when you go against it, then they go, whoa, 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 what's going on? And they try to come and match you. And that's what you want. The horse's balance and weight and everything and movement to match with yours. So first you match with theirs, then they match with yours, and it's a two-way street. And that is how you communicate, all with your seat, okay? So then what do your hands do? Your hands are free to do anything they want. If you are always gripping with your hands, holding on to the reins with your hands, using your hands to balance you, that is wrong. Okay, if the horse has a bit, your hands is connected to their mouth. If you're yanking on it, pulling on it, using it to pull yourself back up or whatever, or they use it against you and they use it to pull you down, right? That's all bad. Break that cycle. Just cut that right there, you know. Yeah, but you don't want to be pulling on their bit. But even if you're doing bitless, you don't want to be pulling on their face. You can still hurt it's still their face, you know. So yeah, hands cannot be used for pulling, okay? One is going to pull you out of balance. And to me, that is a big no-no. If the horse starts doing that, and Lacer does do that, I just let him have it. Here, take it. But what is he going to do with the reins? He can't do that much with the reins because I still got my seat. My seat is what drives most everything. The reins is just a fine tune. But if it's not being used as a fine tuner anymore, then you're going into a red zone. Okay. So hands are not meant to hold a horn. They're not meant to grip on the reins tight. Okay, the grip that you have should be like firm, a firm handshake. A nice firm handshake, okay? It shouldn't be like, okay? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, although I do this a lot because I'm just kind of like, sorry, my thing keeps, okay. So, but a nice firm handshake, especially when they're scared. You'll see, look at all the videos when they're scared of something, it becomes this. And I go from this to like this, okay? And I try not to ever do this because you stiffen one part of your body up, it's gonna stiffen everything else up. You start locking this up, okay, so let this flow. And same with your lower leg. Lower leg, just let it flow. Now your seat and your thigh, and where I actually kind of just balance, right? It's on the inside of these thighs. My knees are completely off. No knees at all, okay? In fact, there is something that they say have hips of a whore. And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, hips, that's horrible, right? But it's basically, you want to open up your pelvis. And when you open up your pelvis, your seat will actually change. So we're nice and wide and under us. And when I open this up, can you see that? Okay, watch the line of my butt. Okay, I'm gonna just sit. All right, now I want to get up a little, so I'm going to lengthen my stirrups, and now I'm going to open up my hips. can you see how this tucked more under me? And this pulls, so I had some more weight back here, and now, and what I'm doing is I'm not just doing this to get my weight under me, all right? Trying to show you nice lines here. All right, so I'm sitting, and I'm gonna open my, can you see that change? And that's just from opening up. Now my knee, I'm exaggerating, so my knees are going out, but you'll also see that. But when this goes out, what you'll notice is now it's this inner portion of your thighs, this inner part that is actually contacting the saddle. And depending on the horse, maybe the inner side of your calf, but it's gonna be something like back here, not your shin. Okay, not your shin, not your knees. It should all be the nice meaty part, the inside meaty part of your thigh. All right, so once again, stuck way out, sitting on your pockets maybe, I don't know what this is. Okay, nice balance. Now I'm gonna open up my hips, all right? So that is a tip. Try these and see how it feels for you. When you open up your hips, you're gonna all of a sudden notice that your thighs and your calves maybe all of a sudden have all this more contact around your horse. Not to grip. Don't get tight and grip, and you're not gonna be able to maintain that anyways. It's gonna be just a nice hold. So once again, imagine that light coming from the top of your head, and think of those puppets, those string puppets, okay? If the string puppet is like this, when I pull it up and you see how this naturally closes up? Okay, it's not gripping. It's not like, it's not gripping on, but as I pull it up, it naturally gets this hold. It's like laying down chopsticks. It's like, oh, there's a natural hold right there, okay? That's what you're going for. All right, so then what do your heels do? Your heels are going to drop down, but you don't want to shove them down, okay? You shove them down, what's going to happen is you're going to push all of your weight forward. Your leg's going to go forward, okay? You don't want to do that. But what you're aiming for is this balance. So do this exercise. Get on the ball of your feet and do this and start rocking. And you know how I was doing this before? Okay, now do it up here. Okay, and feel how your hip, and open up your hip and feel how your heel all of a sudden, so your ankle is springy and your heel is going to naturally just drop. This isn't wide enough for me to get into good position. So when you look in a picture, you can very easily tell the people that are shoving their heels down. Now, I will shove my heels down if I feel like the horse is about to bolt or something. But it's not really shoving your heels down. It's going to put your feet forward. It's going to make you land on your butt more, right? But the problem, and that may feel more secure, it may feel like you have more brakes or more brace, and you might do that, especially if you're pulling on the reins. But remember, we're not pulling on the reins, right? So drop that, so we don't need that. So come back to balance, and oh, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, the problem with this is if they buck and they come up, you don't have any response time. Your response time needs to be in fractions of a second, okay? Because most accidents are done in 2 seconds. meaning from start to you on the ground is 2 seconds. So really the time to be able to correct and catch it and turn it before you hit the ground is within a second, which means your reaction has to be within the fractions of a second before you hit a second, because in the next second you're going to be on the ground. All right, so if you're sitting on your butt, oh, I almost made myself fall over. He's sitting on your butt and then he bucks. First he's going to knock you up off balance. You can't catch yourself. You fall forward and your legs aren't under you. So I float. I don't rely on that. I'm going to float and have an independent seat. With an independent seat, he can buck all day long, and I am just going to float. I'm just going to float in my little zone of balance right there. So he can do whatever he wants, and I'm just going to float. And I am floating on my own 2 feet and my own seat and my own balance. I'm not relying on him because I'm not sitting down onto him, okay? So that makes you have a more responsive seat. Plus, if you're just sitting, actually sitting on a horse, you know, you're being lazy. This isn't actively riding. You always need to be actively riding. I say always, but you know, yeah, of course, take a break every once in a while and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? There's a difference between being actively riding and holding up your own weight, being responsible for your own weight and your own motions, and just, you know, flopping around, just being a victim to whatever movements that is put upon you. You want to have an independent seat where you are separate from that. You're both separate and together with that motion, right? You're independent of that motion, but you go with it, or you can go against it, depending on how you want to influence their motions. And when you can establish that independent seat, that is the way that you can start influencing their motions. You see how that goes? If you're always a victim to their motions, then you'll never be able to influence their motions in the right way, right? Okay, so, oh my gosh, I've been talking forever. I did not mean for this to be such a long video. I thought it'd be just quick little tips. I'm gonna stop now. I think I covered a lot of key points. Let me know if you have any further questions. Please let me know if this was helpful, or whatever. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.